Welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Now, CBS is pulling the plug on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert next May of 2026, despite its top ratings in late night. The network saying it's a financial decision. But the move comes shortly after CBS settled the lawsuit with Donald Trump and raises questions about possible political motives. There's also some merger stuff happening behind the scenes over at Paramount, which could complicate things. Now, Colbert, a longtime Trump critic, broke the news to his audience saying this is all just going away. Let's talk about what's going away here with Brian Steinberg, senior TV editor over at Variety. Brian, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
I think where we should start off, and I was looking at your recent reporting for Variety. For our listeners that don't know, let's start off by talking about the state of late night, because as you write, the state of late night TV is keeping media executives from sleeping well. Tell our listeners what that means.
Look, these shows have long depended on younger viewers to tune in 11:30, 12:30 at night, and they would get advertisers who are eager to get younger eyeballs, younger consumers. Young people don't watch TV like that. They watch clips. They watch things later on. They watch things as they want to, not at a certain time and date. Therefore, the young audiences that watch these shows has been getting smaller, and with it, the advertising dollars that go to it.
And when you talk about younger viewers, one thing that struck me, I saw that when David Letterman left The Late Show, right, 10 years ago now, his average audience age was 60. And, he was replaced. I mean, one of the things that CBS wanted to do is to get a younger audience, right, with Stephen Colbert. And here we are in 2025, the average age now watching his show on TV, 68. So the audience is getting older and older.
Yeah, this is the problem. People who broadcast TV is a very separate medium from streaming and mobile. A lot of young people are not accustomed to having a cable subscription or a satellite service and watching TV in that fashion. They're accustomed to dialing up their favorite streaming service, hooking up, and getting what they want immediately. And it's not at a certain time or date that someone tells them. It's when they want it. And so people who watch broadcast are older who haven't really adopted these new viewing behaviors.
Why don't you tell our listeners about the other cuts that have happened in late night? Because I think some people are unaware just how much cutting there has been in recent years. Tell me about some of the other cutbacks shows and cutbacks on shows that we should be aware of.
Well, what happened is when Letterman retired, a lot of people say, this is a good time for me to get into this game. We can get an audience that is losing Letterman, and we can grab them. So you had a lot of people try their hand at late night. Not only Colbert, but James Corden. There were some shows on MTV and BET in the United States. Samantha Bee. A lot of folks tried their hand in it. It kind of divided up late night into all these different niches and factions. But in recent months, we're seeing that explosion kind of narrow. Corden's left, Samantha Bee's off the air, Conan O'Brien retired. CBS got out of 12:30 where they had Taylor Tomlinson to replace James Corden. NBC is no longer doing that 1:30 show they used to do with Carson Daly. A lot of folks are shrinking their late night, or doing at least shrinking the original programming that they're putting into these like midnight hours.
And it's funny because we didn't even mention that the Tonight Show is now only 4 nights a week. It's not 5 nights a week. They made a cut back there. And it sort of seems like the list goes on and on. What do we know about the financial situation of The Late Show, though? It was top rated, but what do we know now in the days that have passed since this announcement about the financials of that specific show?
Yeah, we've been told it's been losing money for quite some time. My reporting found that CBS executives this isn't the first time they've raised this issue. It's not Colbert per se. They had a lot of admiration for Colbert. CBS had him in number one in late night for decades before he got there. There's a lot of admiration for his talent and broadcasting acumen and his interest in doing the headlines that to help get him up to the number one, to be really laser focused on the news of the day. But at the same time, they couldn't ignore the losses. This has got a full band. It's got 200 people working for the show. He has a big salary, as most late night hosts do, and CBS simply felt the math wasn't adding up anymore.
Now, Brian, of course you've heard, we're with Brian Steinberg, senior TV editor for Variety, talking about the Colbert cancellation. Of course you've heard the people that are saying, nope, that's all smoke and mirrors. It's cover for the fact that it's the Trump administration putting pressure on the network and its parent company to get rid of Colbert. What do you make of those allegations and murmurs?
I know it's been quite loud. I've talked to people on both sides of the negotiations on this, and everyone tends to agree that CBS had a point to make about the finances. It was a problem. It wasn't going to get any better, and they felt they couldn't just cut the show's quality and have it go up against Fallon and Kimmel. So I mean, there's been, CBS recently paid a big settlement to Trump over 60 Minutes that people thought was a very flimsy lawsuit that CBS would have prevailed in court. There was a merger in the works that would have Skydance Media buy Paramount, the parent of CBS. People who have big stocks in Paramount, like Shari Redstone, the controlling shareholder, need this deal to go through. They can't. They're going to be in difficult condition if the deal doesn't go through. Paramount itself is not doing great as a company. It's got a lot of problems tied to its many different old school cable holdings. So yes, there are a lot of factors in the backdrop. Though I have been told this is a financial decision, but people can, there are clearly other things going on in the background. And
the other part of this is that, it's not like Stephen Colbert is going away. It's not like he's being led into the dark here. He's going to run his show for another 10 months, right, till next May. And then, I would say there's got to be something next for Stephen Colbert. He'll do a podcast like Conan O'Brien. It seems like no matter what, people are going to be watching Stephen Colbert in 2 years' time. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think Colbert can go on and do many different things. This is the thing with TV. These traditional companies don't want to invest in these personalities and use this kind of new model of podcast, videocast, newsletter, merchandise. There are a lot of new models coming up that these guys do pretty well at. Conan O'Brien, you can argue, though he lost the Tonight Show and then retired from doing his TBS show, is one of the big winners in late night. He created these podcasts and sold it for a lot of money to Sirius XM. So I think Colbert has a lot of runway ahead of him if he chooses to do so. I also think your point about him staying on for another 10 months, if CBS really disliked or Paramount disliked his politics, they would have taken him off the air. I think that the fact of the matter is they still want to go out with a high note with this guy. And 10 months is a long time for him to say whatever he likes on late night TV. This could have a lasting effect for some time.
I agree. I think it's a big difference between announcing that you're leaving in 10 months and getting a 10-month farewell party out of it versus saying, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's my last show. I think there's a big difference there. Let me ask you, what do you think is next here for late night? The Tonight Show, Jimmy Kimmel on ABC. Are those shows going to share the same fate? What do you think?
Good questions to ask. I look at the business. Kimmel's next deal ends next year. Kimmel has made some remarks in the recent past about, doing it for a long time, so maybe it's time for him to step back a little bit. Remains to be seen. Can he renew for another cycle? Possibly. Fallon is on until 28, or at least has a deal till 28. Fallon has done a lot more beyond his show in recent years. The business of Fallon is expanding. He's done ice cream flavors, theme park rides. He hosts Password. He's got a new show on in the fall about doing brand advertising work. I think for these guys to survive, they have to do more than just late night show. Corden used to take some of the concepts that he would do for his sketch and spin off into other shows that CBS could make money off of. So I think one or two things could survive. There is still an interest in these shows still throw off a lot of cultural cachet. They have a lot of influence. Could they work, but by having the host do more work beyond the show? That's, I think, the balance that everyone's going to have to figure out.
Brian, we're going to have to leave it there. It's always a pleasure to catch up on you. I've looked back at my emails, and I basically reach out to you once a year for some big story, and you've been so kind on saying yes. Thanks so much.
I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
And I'll direct everyone to go check out Brian Steinberg's writing over at Variety.com. He's the senior TV editor over there.